Hi, I'm Chris Haroun, and this MBA degree program is not what you think it is. It's better. This program is more than 25 years of business experience, all rolled into one easy-to-access online program. I've sold over 1 million courses in every single country. I've worked at Goldman Sachs. I have an MBA from Columbia University, and I've worked in the venture capital, hedge fund, and consulting industries. I've also started many companies, and my courses have been featured in Forbes, Business Insider, CNN, and NBC. If you're ready to nail your next interview, get a better job, get a raise, start that business you've always dreamt of, improve the one you currently run, or better manage your personal finances, then this MBA degree program is for you. I can't begin to tell you how comprehensive this program is. It's got everything, including more than 300 hours of on-demand video. I would have to do one of those dramatic opening title crawls from a certain space movie just to show you. And check out all the amazing reviews from students who have already enrolled in this MBA degree program. Last but not least, there is a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee. And because you can access this program from any device, meaning a desktop computer or a laptop computer or a tablet or even your smartphone, it means you can comfortably fit it into your schedule. Even if you work full-time, it's no problem. So if you're ready to unlock the key to your potential, then I'll see you in class. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to our 266th weekly webcast. If this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. Now, if you've been with us before, welcome back. The way this call works is this is an AMA like you see on Reddit, meaning ask me anything. You can ask me business questions, career questions, investing questions, personal growth questions, etc. And my humble goal is to help you take your career, your investment portfolio, or your company, or even your confidence to the next level. So without further ado, let's begin, and thank you as always. Okay, first up, I've got Chetan. Hey, Chetan. Who wrote, good morning. I've seen you using a lot of Google search engine operator, which you put in quotes. Can you show us some useful ones, and how does Google make sense of it? Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Okay. So a couple things you can do that will help you search much more efficiently on Google and also off of Google. Give me 1 second to go to my browser here. Okay, good. So let's go to Google. Now, if you want to do a search for something in quotes, it's going to include the entire thing. So when is GTA 6 coming out? And when it comes out, you're not going to see me for at least a month next year, okay? All right. So, and it will give you the exact result for that in brackets or in quotes there. Now, what you can also do is you can use the plus sign. So say you want to search for, I don't know, GTA 4 in the word controversy. So the word controversy has to be in this. Okay, so here you go. Here's some controversy right there. Now, another thing you can do, I don't like using the search engines on specific websites. What I like to do is I like to actually use the search engine on Google for those websites. I'll give you an example. So let's say that I want to do a search on CNN.com for New York Yankees. I can just type this. So you put the URL there, and then you put a colon, and then you type the name right there. And usually Google has a much better search engine for individual websites than the search icon itself. Now, if you want to do something more advanced when it comes to search on your website, what you can do is there's a company called 360 Site Search in Germany. And what I do is I outsource to them directly so I can do searches. So let me show you here. So if I go here, I think I pay about $100 a month for this. So you can group content. So here for my MBA students, let's say they're curious about, I don't know, the balance sheet, and they want to know exactly where in the curriculum and which MBA program covers that. So I have it all set up right here. Again, the company, it's a German company called 360 Site Search, which is great. If you have additional questions, please let me know, and thank you as always. Okay. All right, next up, Prashant wrote, "Hi, Chris. Hope all's well on your end. Likewise, great to see you." And then you wrote here, "Many congratulations, thank you, for the diamond version of my MBA program. What's the criteria and fee for this latest version of the MBA program?" Yeah, I launched this recently. It's actually doing really well. So let me show you what this means really quickly. So if we go to harounmba.com/FAQ, you'll see that I have a brand new product right here. Okay, so we got the silver, gold, platinum, and diamond product now. And the diamond product includes platinum for free, but it's much more tailored. And there's a minimum of 20 hours of one-on-one coaching with me. And that coaching can be done anytime within the next year. You also have WhatsApp access to me and 24-hour-a-day support from me if you need to reach me 6 days a week. On the 7th day, I got to spend time with Christina and my kids. What's also included is a very, very customized curriculum. Now, if anybody's interested in this, you can click here, book a call with Chris. I'm happy to talk to you about it in much more detail. It also includes every single course I've ever made and much, much more. Yeah. And it might not be a good fit for everybody. Which is why I want you to book a call first if you're interested in this sort of thing. And if you've already signed up for silver, gold, or platinum, you get a discount, of course. Yeah. All right. Okay. And my goal is, as many of you know, is to build 1,000 schools in Africa. And I'm giving myself 10 years to do it. Now, each school is going to cost at a minimum $100,000. So 1,000 schools times $100,000, that's $100 million. And so what I'm doing is I'm scaling my business big time. I'm doing a lot of research with the help of Alex Hormozy and many others as well, so I can make this reality become a reality. And I'll show you just a quick update on what we've done so far. So let me go over here. It's why I do what I do. So if we go here to projectmagoo.org, and I build schools with my students. So we finished the first one with Vital, who's one of my platinum students from a couple of years ago. We built it in Rwanda. Here's the school here. I did a live webcast, remember last summer, I think it was last July, week number 200 and something. Now we got solar on the roof. It's going to be satellite powered as well. You can learn more by going to projectmagoo.org. The next one we're building right now is in Kenya. It's a 6-hour drive from the Nairobi airport. And I'm doing that with another one of my platinum students, Marin Koros, in honor of her mother. It's going to be called the Leah Koros Memorial School for Girls. I'm going all out. I'm going to build a ton of these things. And as James Cameron said, a great Canadian director, as y'all know, he said, if you set your goals really, really high and you fail, you still fail above everyone else's expectations. Last thing I'll say in this, to be intellectually honest, is if I was a quota-carrying sales rep at any company, I'd be fired so many times. Yeah. Shoot for the stars, you'll hit the moon, eh? All right. Rahul, thank you for that donation. I appreciate that. You wrote, first of all, God bless you. God bless you more. Thank you. Second of all, I have a question. Sure. You wrote, I want to know if I have financial modeling skill set, and private market analysis. How can I get work as a freelancer or small analysis project from India without using Upwork? Yeah. In order to do that, you have to be thought of as a thought leader. Now, the way to get free publicity and to be thought of as a thought leader is to publish a lot on LinkedIn. And I'm going to run through exactly how to do that. And I'm going to use Nintendo as an example. You'll see why in a second. So Nintendo is the oldest tech company in history. It's been around for over 100 years. It wasn't always a tech company. But they're very paranoid with their corporate culture. They've got a massive cash balance at all times. More importantly, though, they repurpose their content. So what that means is this, and this is great for social media as well. So what they do is their older games on the 8-bit, 16-bit, 64-bit, Switch, Wii U, all that stuff, all their older products, they repurpose it on newer consoles, right? And so their profit margins are insanely high because of this. They get to work smarter, not harder. So when it comes to you articulating your financial model, skill set, etc., what I recommend you do is I recommend that you write one article every week on LinkedIn. Okay, and I'm going to make this a generic response to apply to everybody. So I want you to write about what you're most passionate about in business. And eventually, if you keep doing it, and remember it's a marathon, not a sprint. If you keep doing it, eventually the media will approach you and others will see you as a thought leader. It's like the Rodin sculpture, I think, therefore I am. Then I want you to repurpose all those articles that you write and put it together in a book. And this is what I did. So I worked in venture capital years ago. I actually quit VC in early 2016. But what I did when I worked in VC was I published one article every single week for about 2 years. And the article was business tips. And then I put all those articles together in a book. I'm going to give you a template for free so you can write your book as well. And I repurposed it. And the articles I put first were the ones that got the most clicks. Now, if you're going to write a book, and again, I'll give you the template in a second, you got to make it at least 140 pages so you can have a spine here, unlike me. Yeah, so you can have a spine. Now, when you go to your informational meetings, okay, with for interviews or with customers or potential, I don't know, business partners, you bring this book, or even interviews at universities if you want to go to university. And if you think to yourself, Chris, that's a lot of work, and I say this with love in my heart, then ask yourself, how badly do you want that job or that customer? All right, now let me show you how to get this book template for free. So let's go together to harounmba.com/ all lowercase, right, book, all one word, okay, right here. So once we're here, come on interwebs, here we go. Once you're here, just click here. I don't ask for your email or anything. And it's a Microsoft Word document you download. It's here in Dropbox. And if you know how to use Word and a browser, you too can write a book. It costs you nothing. And here on the first page, okay, I've got instructions, one page of instructions on how to publish this on Kindle Direct Press, right? That's Amazon as ebooks. CreateSpace, which is the paper version of Amazon's product. And then ACX, which is Audible. After you write your book, I want you to go to audible.com, that's acx.com, and narrate your book. It's easy to do because that's a great way for you to proof check your book as well for grammar issues, of which I have many in all my books. Then what you do is you go to fiverr.com, and please use this person here to make the cover of your book, Ultracon22. She actually is from Bangladesh. She's great. Tip her well as well, please. Then you write your entire book, yada, yada, yada. Here you go. Dedication. Then you right-click here in Word and repaginate. That's it. It's that easy. Now let's take this to the next level. Okay, so you have all these LinkedIn articles. You repurpose your content into a book. Then what you can do is you can repurpose that content into vlogs, or you can repurpose that into TikToks, as well as on Instagram, etc. And that's exactly what I do. So what I do with this weekly call, this is week 266. I'm in my 6th year of doing this. I love it. Love every second of it. What I do is this. The 7 best questions asked gets repurposed. They get repurposed into my TikTok account. Follow me on TikTok if you want, as well as Instagram, LinkedIn, etc. So there's nothing left on this weekly call carcass by the time it's done. I also have it set up, if you can't watch me live, you can always go to the description field of this video 1 hour after we're done with this, and click on any question asked so you can get immediate access. So the bottom line is, if you want to make it as a financial analyst or in any sector in general per your question, what you have to do is be a prolific writer, okay, and repurpose your content. And eventually, as I say with Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come, right? The media will come as well. One more quick note on media attention. Have you ever seen a Tesla commercial? Neither have I. You need to be controversial when you market yourself. Controversial, but tasteful, okay? And if you learn public speaking skills, and I teach this in my MBA degree program as well, or with one-on-one consulting, go to this link down here below for more details. But if you practice your communication skills a lot and you opine, give your opinion on social media, especially on LinkedIn, eventually the media is going to approach you. But you got to be a bit controversial. Otherwise, it's not an interesting story. So, for example, Sir Richard Branson, what he did was back in the 1980s, he declared war on Coca-Cola because he launched Virgin Cola. And you can do a search on Google there for Richard Branson tank. And you'll see that he rented a tank and he drove it into Times Square to declare war on Coca-Cola. Other examples of being controversial but tasteful include Mark Benioff, who is the founder of Salesforce.com. He founded Salesforce in 1999. And initially, he said software is dead. In fact, his logo was software with a line through it. And people were like, WTF, which means why the face, if my mom is watching. And he was saying that software is dead because cloud computing is the future, and traditional client server software that you run on your computer just doesn't make sense. And he was right. He was ahead of his time. And as a result, he was on tons of television shows interviewing. He still does on the Jim Cramer show, Mad Money on CNBC. Please don't watch that show. Do your own research always for our stock ideas. And if you want more details on how Mark Benioff became successful, you can read his book called Above the Clouds. So the bottom line is this. In order to take your skill set to the next level and not use Upwork, you have to be a prolific writer. You have to repurpose your content like Nintendo does. And you also have to be somewhat controversial. So I'm controversial as well, which has gotten me a lot of media attention. So, and what I've done, by the way, and what I recommend you do, is reach out to the top journalists all over the world. I sent them all emails. And what you can do in these emails is you can offer yourself up as a resource. You get free publicity. I'm going to show you exactly how I did it with a real case study in a second. And you say something along the lines of this. You say something controversial. So what I said in my emails, and I got responses from the Wall Street Journal and everybody, I sent emails offering myself up as a resource. I kept it short. And what I said was this. I think that within a couple of decades, within my lifetime, only 50 or so universities will survive. And the reason is because a lot of people are going to switch to online education. And it's not worth it paying $100,000 for a 4-year undergraduate degree or a traditional MBA when they don't teach you the most important skill sets, etc. And it works. Let me show you. And I am transparent. As you know, transparency builds trust. So let's go to my Gmail account here. Okay. And let me do a search on Amanda. Yeah, Amanda Breen. Yeah. So I emailed, and so what I did was I emailed Amanda Breen, okay? And so she's a journalist at Entrepreneur, okay? So I emailed her in September, okay? And then I wrote here, in several decades, I think only 50 schools will exist, yada, yada. And then she finally responded in February, right? You got to be long-term focused with this stuff. Be long-term greedy, okay? And then eventually she interviewed me, and there's an article as well. Just do a search on my name and all that stuff. But this works. This works, right? And one email, one meeting, one Zoom event can change your life. But you got to have the chutzpah to be able to keep at it, be a pit bull and a pork chop, and be long-term focused. Yeah. Holy, that was a long answer. I talk a lot, sorry. Thank you for that donation. I appreciate it. Okay, and that will go directly to Project Magoo. And by the way, I don't own a charity. Okay, so what I do is I give money away, but the charity is not in my name, ever. Okay. Okay, my wife's name is Charity. I'm just kidding. Okay, I made it 18 minutes without any awful dad humor. I'm gonna. My wife's name is Christine. And nobody forgets our names, ever. Because we go to a party, it's like, hey, there's Chris and Christine. Here's a quick tip for you, though. If you forget somebody's name at a party, what I do with my wife always is this. When she walks up, if I don't remember somebody's name, which is every meeting, I go like this, and she'll introduce herself. And at the end of the night, I've lost like 8 layers of skin on my neck. Yeah. Okay. All right, next up, Hassan wrote, I'm planning to build a business, which your Udemy courses is good for venture capital and angel investment details. Yeah, I recommend checking out a course I have called the Complete Business Plan course. That's a good one. It'll help you. That will help you get your business plan done. And then I have another course, which is my first course on Udemy. It's not that good. It's called something along the lines of how to raise capital from fundraising secrets, etc. Or what you can do is you can join my MBA degree program where I actually have what I refer to as a venture capital boot camp. And it's in the 3rd semester. And I walk you through this template I made just for my MBA degree program. And basically what we do is it's 5 classes in the 3rd semester, about 15 hours of content of the 300 or 400 hour MBA. And I walk you through how to start a company. And then what I do is at the end of this, you have a business plan and you'll have like tons of slides as well to show investors. I teach you how to make an incredible slide deck, etc. And failing to plan is plan to fail. And you need to have a business plan in place. And please don't ever start a company. I'm going to get down on my knees because I love you guys and I care. Hi there. Please don't ever start a company without writing a full business plan first, okay? And if you don't do that, if you don't write a full business plan first, and you can use my stuff or anybody's really, if you don't write a full business plan first, then it can destroy your life starting a company when you're not ready. It will destroy your wealth, your health, your relationships with others. It will set you back career-wise as well. Please finish a business plan. And the way you know you have a great business plan is if you finish it. Now, if you're working through creating a business plan and you spend like an hour or two on it, and I ask you 700 or 800 questions in my MBA program about your business plan when you create it with me, if you spend an hour working on it, you're like, oh my God, I didn't know about these issues and these risks. Screw this, man. I don't like this business anymore. Quit. Move on to the next business plan. Last thing I'll say on this topic, and this is great advice for anybody who wants to give any sort of presentation or raise capital, whatever it is. I want you all to use the Airbnb pitch deck as your example for a perfect presentation. And I'll show you why quickly. And you can all access this for free online. So let's go here to Airbnb pitch deck. Okay. Here it is here. So the Airbnb pitch deck, and obviously this is a very successful company that came out of Y Combinator. So the Airbnb pitch deck, we see here that there's only 3 bullet points per slide or 3 images per slide. Okay, for the most part. Less is more. Make it 10 to 12 slides max. Use images. We are much more visual these days. I'm very well read, and I can't speak good today. And Steve Jobs used to talk about the power of 3, to the extent that we can't process more than 3 things on one slide. And the best pictures in the world also have 3 layers. You'll notice that the ones on the beach, you'll see the beach, the ocean, and the sky. 3 layers. Remember the power of 3. Okay. Next up. All right. Enter Ben, how are you? Great to see you as well. Manas from India. Great to see you. God bless you. I hope you're having a wonderful day as well. Caroline, originally from France, lives in Nova Scotia, Canada. Great to see you, and congratulations on buying your rental property as well. Quick side note, what I'm adding exclusively to my MBA program later this year is a very long elective by this fall on real estate. I'm going to teach you everything about real estate. I bought a number of properties in Southern Ontario over the past couple of years, and I'm in the process of buying one in Florida right now as well. And I'll teach you everything about real estate, whether it's residential, commercial, your house, a rental, etc. Yeah. And I'll come out this fall. There, I set a deadline date. I have to get it done now. Okay. Phil, Germany. Hey, Phil. Speaking of Phil was my first student that wrote a book using my template, 6-inch by 9-inch template. He did it years ago. I think like 5 years ago. Phil, Germany, right? From Ohio. And the name of his book, which I have, is called Super Students, which is prophetic. But it's about chess. Yeah. Great to see you. So Phil wrote, hey, Chris, is the DuPont method worth looking at when it comes to investing? Yeah. So what Phil is referring to here is disaggregating something called return on equity. Okay. And return on equity basically means net income over equity. Okay. So whenever you hear return on something, it means net income or something else. So when you look at return on equity, what you can do is you can break that up into 3 different components. And then those 3 components will also comprise ROE. And I forgot the 3 components, so I'm going to go show it to you. It's very academic, so I don't use this at all. It's kind of like using DCF, discounted cash flow. So let's go to ROE DuPont. And here we'll see here. Let's go here to images. Yeah, here it is here. Okay. So, yeah. So we know that return on equity is net income over equity. Okay. So you can, like, net profit over equity. Same thing. You can disaggregate it by breaking it up into 3 parts here. And the reason it works, net profit over equity here, this formula is because sales cancels out with sales, assets cancels out with assets. So it's net profit over equity, right? So you can look at sales turnover here. You can also look at assets over equity. I just prefer to look at it as net income over equity, to be honest. Yeah. I haven't seen that in a while. Yeah. See, this is how I learn. It keeps me fresh. When one teaches, 2 learn. Okay. And Caroline wrote great intro. Thank you. Okay, next up, Lay. Good morning. Good to see you. Enterband wrote, Chris, you had put YouTube studio link for today's Silver Call live link. Can you please update it? Oh, it's the wrong one. Thank you so much for that. Okay. All right. Appreciate that. So let me show you behind the scenes of what I do if you guys want to run a YouTube live call. Okay. So what I do, and I'm going to go to my YouTube page here. Okay. YouTube Creator Studio. So when you go live, when you go live, you can either share the link or share behind the scenes, right? So this here is what I'm doing right now. So behind the scenes, this is how I'm running it. I'm using something called Wirecast, okay? And I'm running it off another computer. But right here, I can monitor chat rate, everything. It's excellent connection. I sent you the link for this instead of this link right here. Okay, I will update that. Thank you. The older I get, the better I was. I have senior moments every now and then. But that's okay because there's a 30-day, 100% money back guarantee on all my courses. Oh my God, I talk a lot. Okay, let me shut down this here. Okay. So I use something called Wirecast software here. You can also use OBS, which stands for Open Broadcasting Software, which I teach in my MBA program as well. OBS is free. Wirecast costs money. Wirecast is easier to use, kind of like Mac is more expensive, but easier in Windows. All right, Manos wrote, black shirt again, looking like a pro. Larry the Liquidator, thank you. Thank you, I appreciate that. That was a nice little reference from the private equity movie, Other People's Money, OPM with Danny DeVito. Yeah, I'll probably start wearing this again. This is my signature thing, yeah. Ginny, how are you? Great to see you, Ginny. Ginny is from Vietnam. She moved to Australia. I haven't seen you in years. Great to see you. Join us on the weekly gold and platinum office hours if you want. Use the same YouTube, Zoom link as usual. Today at 11:20. It's 2 hours every Thursday. Yeah, if you want to ask me questions live. But you're more than welcome to ask questions here too. Okay. Next up, Omran wrote, do hedge funds trade Forex, meaning foreign exchange? Yeah, some of them are macro oriented. They usually don't do that well though. Because what happens is first of all, when you trade, right, when you're trying to buy and sell all day long, you can't make money. You get fooled by randomness. And it gets even worse when it comes to FX. Because I don't know what Putin is going to say next, or Biden, or any political leader that's going to drive the value of a certain currency up versus another. You get fooled by randomness. Yeah. Now, the only very successful macro traders, or investors, I should say, are the ones that are longer term focused. For example, George Soros, right? He's brilliant. So what he did, and my old boss, Carson Levitt, when I worked for him at Citadel and Pequot, he used to work for George Soros. And I'll get back to that in a second with an interesting story. But George Soros broke the Bank of England, and he also broke the Thai baht. So what he did from a macro perspective when it comes to FX is he shorted a ton of the British pound. And this was back in the 90s when the British pound was actually not a floating fixed exchange rate. It was actually fixed to a number of different currencies in Europe and the United States. He forced them to float the pound and broke the Bank of England and destroyed the British pound. He did the exact same thing in Thailand with the Thai baht back in the 90s. You know, he and the hedge fund mafia were all over it. And a lot of other investors piggybacked on his trade as well. Now, he's the exception. Most people lose a fortune when it comes to FX. The only reason I recommend trading or doing options or whatever it is, derivatives with FX, is if you run a big company and you have too much exposure to one currency. So you want to hedge yourself in case, I don't know, the US dollar rises or falls versus the currency you transact in a lot. Now, let me talk quickly about Carson Levitt. So Carson is my mentor. He's the reason I'm in the hedge fund industry. He hired me at Citadel and at Pequot years ago. Great guy. And so I asked Carson, so many times why he's successful. And it's because he's very, very long-term focused. And I'll give you a great example. So in the summer of 1999, he got hired by George Soros, right? And I asked him what was it like to interview with Soros. And he said it was great. He's more of a fixed income guy, less so equities. And at that point in the summer of 1999, Soros was down 15% when the markets were up massively that year. And so Carson was hired, and I'll tell you how he made money. Carson was hired to turn the fund around. And he actually got the fund to break even by December of 1999. And then he had a 40% month in December. And I said, Carson, how did you do this? This is all publicly disclosed. You can search for it. He said, well, I made $1 billion in 1 month with Qualcomm. And I was like, dude, how did you, I didn't say dude, I said, Carson, how did you know? And he said, well, I'm long-term focused. I think about trends from a long-term perspective. I ignore all the noise there. I noticed more people walking down Fifth Avenue with these things, right? Not iPhones, but other cell phones. And so I asked myself, what's in them? And it was the Qualcomm chip, ticker QCOM, right? Back when they used to make chips, they're more into licensing their IP now. And so he went all in and invested in that company, did extraordinarily well. Now, the longer the view, the wiser the intention. You have to be long-term focused to do well at hedge funds, which is what's happened with Carson Levitt. Yeah. Now, unlike Julian Robertson's Tiger Fund, which basically went belly up by January of 2020, Soros made it because of Carson. He was long-term focused. Maybe I'll bring Carson on 1 week for this weekly call. You guys can ask him questions. He's a good guy. All right. Okay. Next up, Phil wrote, as far as showing people a minimum viable product, MVP, yep. How minimal can it be? For example, can it be a simple sketch? Absolutely. Absolutely. As Reid Hoffman, the brilliant co-founder of LinkedIn and now a partner in venture capital at Greylock, a firm that's been around since 1965. As Reid Hoffman once said, if you release your product when it's ready, it's too late. You missed the market. So you got to have a minimum viable product. Even if your product isn't ready, a sketch will do. It can be a wireframe diagram of an app you get somebody to do on Fiverr or Upwork.com. Or what you can do is bring in a physical 3D printed version of the product. Now, when I worked in venture capital, we partnered with Kleiner Perkins on a couple of deals. And I went to Kleiner Perkins headquarters. And I met with a guy there named Randy Komisar. And Randy made $3 billion for Kleiner Perkins on a company called Nest. He invested in Nest. Remember the thermostat company? He invested in Nest, which Google bought for billions of dollars. And I asked Randy, I said, Randy, how did you know? How did you know this company was a good investment? I mean, how amazing was the Nest product when you first met with the management team? He said, Chris, they didn't have a product. I said, well, what did they have? He said, they brought in a block of wood, right? It was a round block of wood. And they just explained what the product might look like. And so I said, well, why did you invest? And he said, because the engineers were so passionate in their vision and what they were doing. So the bottom line message here is you always want to invest in an A management team with a B business model instead of investing in a B management team with an A business model. And you don't need to have a product that's 100% ready. Again, if you only release your product when it's ready, you've missed the market. And as Salvador Dali said, if you strive for perfection, you'll never attain it. And that's an issue I've had my entire life as well, is trying to be perfect with everything. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Manas wrote, inflation went up in February. The Fed is going to be careful with the rates. What if inflation is back to double digits when rates are down to 2%? Will the Fed again jump back in? What about that? Yeah. So it's not that bad. It's still in the low single digits, 3% and change. And the Fed is still going to cut rates, though, right? Now, you don't want, inflation is bad, but deflation is worse. If you have deflation, meaning prices going down a lot, like a heck of a lot, it means you're in a recession potentially, and it leads to stagflation, right? So I don't think it's a big deal. I think maybe the Fed cuts 2 times this year instead of 3 times. But the Federal Reserve always needs to raise rates when inflation goes up materially. Otherwise, you don't have an economy. And it's fiscally irresponsible not to raise rates when there's a lot of inflation. Because if you don't, then you can't cut rates to jumpstart the economy. Yeah. But cash is always trash. Yeah. All right. Okay. Next up, Manas wrote, Ethereum ETF is due in a few months. Maybe 76 days is what the SEC verifies. And what if Wall Street greed gets wild again on Ethereum? I own it. I own a ton of Bitcoin as well. I set up my own IRA years ago with Bitcoin. I'm never selling it. And the ETF news on Bitcoin is material. Okay, I'm not surprised that Bitcoin's at an all-time high. Okay, do your own research, but I own a position, big position. Yeah. But basically, the way it works, and the reason that ETFs is a big deal for Bitcoin, is because let's go back to 2004. Before 2004, if you wanted to buy gold, and this is fake, but if you wanted to buy gold, you had to actually go and buy gold bars, right? And you weren't really confident they were perfectly, legit. Were they 100% pure gold, watered down? We just don't know. So you didn't make your order as big. Then in 2004, what happened was the gold ETF was released, ticker GLD. This is a big deal. And I always own gold. And I usually own a lot more gold when we're in a recession. It was my biggest long position in 2008 when we were within 24 hours of bank machines not working. So let me show you what this means and why this is a big deal. So what you can do is you can go to finance.yahoo.com. And if you want to buy gold, and I love gold because it's a scarce resource, you can type GLD and buy gold. And the fees here are 40 basis points, which means you'll pay 40 pennies per $100 per year to own gold, which is not that bad. And it's very liquid as well. It trades like water. Now, let's compare and contrast this with Bitcoin. So up until recently, if you wanted to buy cryptocurrency, or Bitcoin, I should say, it was a pain in the neck, man. You had to use a Ledger Nano, right, which is like a cold storage wallet. And when you set these things up, it is so complicated. I've set up tons of these things. It's so complicated that by the time you're done setting up this cryptocurrency cold storage wallet, you're like, I'm not confident in the process. I'm going to cut my order in half now. Well, now you can buy Bitcoin using an ETF. So commensurate with the GLD example, it makes it friction-free and easier to purchase, meaning more people want to own this thing. It's less risky because it's liquid as well. So it's very positive, yeah. And I publicly disclosed for years that I own Bitcoin. Do your own research, please. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and Ripple. Yeah. Now, if you're going to invest in cryptocurrency ETFs, please make sure that you do the research first and make sure that it's liquid, meaning it trades a lot. And I'll get back to liquidity in a second. And also only buy from a very reputable firm like a Schwab or something. Now, when you do your research, what I want you to do, here it is. When you do your research, I want you to read the investment offering memorandum. Okay, and you can always go directly to the source, meaning the company that's selling the ETF or the stock itself. And the SEC mandates that anybody that's going to sell a financial product, and this is Meta's IPO document, but you can go to sec.gov and read up the investment offering memorandum. Read this first always, okay? It's free. It really gives you all the risks, etc. Don't invest in anything unless you read these things. And if somebody offers you to invest in a company that's private, if you ask them for investment offering memorandum and they don't have one, they don't invest. And obviously make sure it's created by a lawyer. Another quick side note. If a friend asks you to invest in their company, I want you to tell yourself this. Why am I so lucky to be given this opportunity? Maybe it's because nobody else would. Yeah. Pains me to say that, but I do care. All right. Pranav wrote, do you recommend investing in REITs? Yeah, so for those of you not familiar with REITs, it stands for Real Estate Investment Trust. It's kind of like buying a mutual fund or an ETF of real estate holdings. And by law, these companies have to pay out about 90% of their operating profits in the form of a dividend. I like them, yeah. But I think the best real estate investment you should focus on first is your house or your apartment because of the inherent tax breaks and also because you save a fortune on rent every single year. Yeah, and I know we're seeing a bounce back right now. Like a lot of people are starting to buy commercial real estate. It's mean reversion because they're massively oversold and because there's a secular trend of people now moving back into the city. But for me, I don't like that. I love investing in remote areas. I personally own farmland in Texas. I give up mineral rights. I think that cities are in secular decline longer term. And again, I'm going to be releasing my real estate elective, which everybody in my MBA program, which you can access here, is going to get for free. It's going to be exclusive to my MBA degree program, and it's coming out this fall. Yeah. Okay. Let me talk quickly about liquidity, though. So illiquid stocks own you in a down market and not vice versa. And A lot of hedge funds went bankrupt in the fall of 2008 because they owned illiquid stocks that don't trade that much. So what does that mean for all of us? Well, I never recommend investing in anything if your position size is going to be more than 10% of the average daily trading volume. And I say that so that you can get in and out if need be to get access to your capital. So basically, the way you calculate this is you take the share price times the average daily trading volume and divide that by 10. And that should be your biggest position size. Illiquid stocks own us in a down market rather than vice versa. Okay. Ted, it's been a while. How are you, man? Ted wrote, good morning, Chris. Good morning. I think your 1,000 school project is fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. And whenever I set a BAG goal, B-H-A-G, big, hairy, audacious goal, and this is going to explain a little bit about who I am. This might sound out there, but here I go. I feel like I'm standing on the edge of a cliff. And whenever I start something, and I throw airplane parts out, and I jump off the cliff, and I have to assemble the airplane before it lands. So I just want to be part of something bigger than myself. And that's why I'm doing this. It's crazy, but I vocalize it and I got to get it done. And if I fail, I'll still end up building a gazillion schools. Yeah, but I'm not going to fail. All right. You wrote, but I'm wondering if you also fund schools that are already built but are in danger of closing due to lack of funding. Yeah. No, the way I do it, so I think of education differently than most teachers do, most academic institutions. I don't believe in accreditation. I believe that we can all learn online. And so the school we set up in Rwanda, for example, it fits 100 students. We have tons of laptops. It's kind of like a meeting center as well as a school. And we've gotten tons of donations. Thank you, IBM, and thank you, Microsoft, for donating laptops as well. Yeah. Okay. And then Prashant gifted me a membership. I've never seen that before. Thank you. Very cool. I'll check that out. Thank you. God bless you. Cool. Okay. Next up, Manas wrote, by the way, where is AI going from here? Have you tried Sora AI? I haven't. India gets to use tools pretty late. Don't know why. How will Gen AI impact you and our job teaching online? That's right. Manas is also an online teacher. Yeah. So I'm optimistic. I know what you're talking about with respect to India. I think India is doing the right thing in terms of putting AI in check. I know it might slow innovation a bit, but we have to be careful because, as Warren Buffett said, once you open AI's Pandora's box, there's no turning back. Yes, I have seen Sora. No, I've not tried it yet because I can't be an alpha or beta tester. Hardly anybody can. And for those of you that haven't tried or checked out Sora, it's insanely great. Basically, it's like using ChatGPT, but for making videos. Right? So there's an example of somebody typed a very short prompt like this, and it was amazing. Show me a lady walking down the street downtown Tokyo, and it's raining. And it looks amazing. It's incredible. The video is unbelievable. There are some issues with it, of course. Nobody can get hands correctly. For some reason, hands look like this, or there's 6 or 7 fingers. I'm sure they'll work their way through that in terms of the impact on us and our business. I'm an optimist. And I use AI a lot to cut expenses, right, through chatbots, etc. And now I'm thinking of using AI to grow my top line. How? Well, eventually, it would be great if, say there's an update to my Python course, which I recently released, and I don't have the time to go and make an update to that course. Well, I can use AI to basically look at all my gazillions of hours of YouTube videos to create an update of me teaching when I was younger. Yeah. So I think it's going to be additive, but it's fascinating because Tyler Perry, who's he's a billionaire, a great movie maker. He was about to build a $1 billion studio in Atlanta, and he just scrapped it. And he scrapped it because of Sora. And the writer's strike last year for Hollywood was partially due to the fact that AI could take away their jobs. I mean, all you have to do is, go to ChatGPT and say, I don't know, write this script the way that Quentin Tarantino does. right? So it's very, very disruptive. Yeah. But I think what's going to happen ultimately is movie companies are going to own their own IP. It'll be somebody that maybe looks a little bit like Tom Cruise or Leonardo DiCaprio, and they don't have to pay that person or that avatar $20 to $50 million, per movie. So profit margins go up materially. But I think AI is a good thing if we embrace it. Now, I've given a lot of presentations on AI to companies like Dell, Workday, etc. And these companies always talk about keeping AI in check and being careful about hallucinations. Quite often AI is confidently wrong. And so a lot of these companies, including Dell, they've recently created AI ethics officers. So CAIE, Chief AI Executive or Ethics Officer. I think every major company is going to have that by the end of this year or next year. I think every government should, if they don't already have, a Department of AI Ethics. We have to keep this stuff in check. Now, I want to talk quickly about Elon Musk. I think his heart is in the right place. He thinks that AI can be very destructive. And I agree with him. We have to keep it in check. In fact, maybe one of the reasons that he resigned from the board as one of the original investors in OpenAI is because of that. We can't put profits ahead of ethics. Yeah, we got to be careful. Yeah, it's going to be. We are going to see, I think, in the next couple of years or so, massive ethical issues to the extent that somebody is going to pretend to be me and try to sell you something, and there has to be legislation passed immediately to stop that. I've used TikTok and I've seen Warren Buffett pitching cryptocurrencies. Now, obviously, that's not Warren Buffett; it's an avatar. Yeah. Deepfakes. Okay. But don't be scared of change. Change is neither good or bad, it just is, as Don Draper said. And I remember when Google was first released in beta in late 98, early 99, teachers were like, oh my God, this is terrible. Students aren't going to do research anymore. The same thing when Wikipedia came out. Professors were like, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. Our students won't be able to write their papers anymore. They'll just be lazy. Yeah. And by the way, if you're in school right now and your teachers say don't use Wikipedia for research, I say do. Except when you go to Wikipedia and you read up on something, go to the footnotes on that page and use those as the sources. Go to those sources. Now, the same people are saying that AI is terrible for education. It's not, man. It helps us work smarter and not harder. And we always adapt. As humans, we always adapt. Back in the 80s, we thought robotics would take away all jobs. We adapted. Think about how efficient machinery is in robotics and AI for agriculture, for example. 95% of the population hundreds of years ago worked in agriculture. Now it's like 2 or 3%. Technology is a good thing if we embrace it the right way. Okay. All right, next up, Margarita. Hey, Margarita, first time seeing you on the call. I hope you join us again. That's my sister-in-law's name. So Margarita wrote, is it a concern that big corporate owners are selling their shares lately, like Amazon and Facebook, Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg? What does this indicate about the market and the economy outlook? Yeah, I'd say Bezos a little bit differently because he kind of stepped away from Amazon. Andy Jassy is now running the company, which is the right choice because he started AWS. So he's kind of stepping away. And by the way, if you want, do a search on my name and VentureBeat for an article I wrote years ago, which was titled, When a Founder Leaves a Company, Investors Should Run for the Exit. I never like investing in a company when the founder is no longer somewhat involved. So Bezos is kind of an exception there. When it comes to Zuckerberg, I'd take a look at what's called 10b5, play and sell. So don't get scared when a founder or a CEO or C-level executive sells a little bit of shares every now and then. It's because they have 99.9% of their liquid net worth in the stock. But I would be scared if a founder sold 20 or 30% of their holdings. And you can always do a regression test to see if, from a behavioral finance perspective, if there's a correlation between how the stock does and insider selling. And you can always do this. So for those of you in my MBA degree program, if you go to one of the artificial intelligence classes I just added, the 6th section will teach you how to use Excel and AI and machine language. And what you can do is you can see if there's a correlation between insider sales or purchase and the stock price. And I used to do this when I worked in the hedge fund industry. I used to meet with Bobby Kotick, the CEO, founder of ATVI, is the ticker Activision, which Microsoft bought. And I noticed, and I made a lot of money off this, humbly, whenever Bobby Kotick bought a ton of shares, a year later the stock was up and vice versa. And this is all publicly disclosed. And I remember meeting with him in a hotel, and I had a one-on-one meeting, and I said, why are you selling shares? And he said, well, my wife, she has expensive tastes. Yeah. But you can always do a behavioral finance regression analysis, see if there's a correlation. And the best investors and executives are always unemotional. And a great example of this is back in, I think it was March of 2020, when the price of oil went to negative $20 in the future market. It was crazy. What happened was Elon Musk bought a ton of shares in Tesla. He's unemotional. Then he sold those shares in late 2021, 6 weeks before the market peaked in January 2022. So there's certain executives that you could analyze from a behavioral finance perspective in terms of what the impact is of them buying or selling shares. Watch Elon Musk closely. Last thing I'll say on this topic is if you're unemotional about business, you'll be incredibly successful. As Buffett said, you want to be greedy when others are fearful and fearful when others are greedy. And Buffett also said, the New York Stock Exchange is the only store in the world where consumers sell stuff when it goes on sale. Think about that. Be a contrary. Yeah. And be long-term focused. Like for me with my business model, the reason I am who I am, doing what I'm doing, is because I think universities are going to go belly up. And I think accreditation is a joke. Unless you're going to go to medical school or something. Yeah. My latest charity, by the way, which I feel really strongly about, is called Doctors Without Diplomas. Yeah. That was a joke. Okay. All right. Next up, I've got Manas wrote, Congress passed a bill, to ban TikTok. Well, the Senate's got to approve it. You have a huge following there. Yeah. Many people have made a killing on TikTok, like CLICKABLE and Charlie D'Amelio, the dancer. Yeah. So what's happening is Steve Mnuchin, who was, a senior executive at Goldman Sachs and worked for the Trump administration, he's trying to put together a syndicate to buy TikTok, from ByteDance. And I love TikTok. I really do. But there are certain things, I'm not going to go into detail. There are certain things I see on TikTok which are very disturbing. And I don't know how they get into my feed sometimes. Very racist stuff. And it could definitely be used as propaganda. Now, I watched the same Senate and congressional hearings that you watched. I saw that one senator make an idiot of himself coming after the CEO of TikTok who's from Singapore. I thought that was ridiculous. But I think we need some sort of legislation. I'm more of a libertarian. I believe in small government and power of the individual. But I think we need some sort of legislation when it comes to hate speech online. Yeah. I hope that TikTok does not go away. But I also hope an American company buys it so it doesn't go away. Otherwise, I think it's going to be canceled. It can be a propaganda machine. Yeah. As much as I enjoy using it. Yeah. And when I use it, I follow, I watch comedians like Dave Chappelle, I love that guy. It's funny. Yeah. And I saw him live once here at the Google Amphitheater. I laughed so hard my stomach hurt the next day. His delivery is brilliant. Yeah, delivery is everything. Okay. And thank you for that comment, Prashant. Okay. The Manas wrote, to be honest, most of the 50 universities that will survive are going to be MIT and HEV, Haroun Education Ventures. Thank you. 2/3 of HBS is BS, Harvard Business School, or Haroun Business School. I don't know. And then you wrote maybe the IITs. Yeah. And for those who are not familiar with the IITs, unbelievable. There's 5 schools in India called Indian Institute of Technology. They're better and harder to get into than MIT. Yeah. Okay. And Fernando, thank you for signing up for my subscription service. Yeah. Okay. Manas wrote, YouTube is weird. One video might get 1 million views and another might get a few hundred. It actually is an unpredictable thing, but it's fun to be honest. The process is so cool. It is fun. It is fun. Now, what YouTube likes is consistency. Okay, and the algorithm, what it looks for is consistency between videos, right? And I'm consistently bad, but I'm consistent. So I have every Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, I drop a new video on my thoughts on a Billions episode, right? It's called Wall Street Pro Reacts to. And the algorithm is starting to pick up on that as well. I edit every video myself. I make every video myself. I love it. So much fun. Yeah. Yeah. But I did realize, I'm going to be critical of YouTube. I did realize that freedom of speech is a government thing, not a technology thing. And somebody said something on a webcast of mine like 2 years ago. It wasn't even my opinion. And because of that, it wasn't even my opinion. YouTube gave me a warning. Now that warning is gone. I'll show you from my profile. But it really upset me. Freedom of speech, I'll show you here. The warning is gone. I never got a strike. If you get 3 strikes, you're out. It was a warning here. They just removed it. But it bothered me. Now, I don't believe in being hateful or, saying anything derogatory to hurt anybody. But it bothered me. And it was actually a doctor that came on to a private webcast, like an unlisted one, and gave his opinion on something. It wasn't my opinion, but he gave it. And I got a warning for that. Yeah. I know their heart's in the right place, but just remember, freedom of speech is not a technology thing. Okay. Okay, and I took a course, actually. If you want to learn how to be a great YouTuber, there's a guy named Daryl Eves, and he wrote a book, and Mr. Beast wrote the intro part of it, and I took Daryl's course. He actually mentored me as well. But just do a search on Daryl Eves YouTube on Amazon. Read his book. That's all you got to do. Yeah, he's good. All right. Hey, Sanjay. Good to see you, too. Sanjay wrote, can someone invest in hedge funds in the United States directly from India? Yeah, a couple of things. Number one, you got to be a accredited investor, meaning you have to have a certain liquid net worth. And you also, there's certain, and Americans have to fill this out too. When you invest in a hedge fund, you're given subscription documents, subdocs, and it's like 10 to 20 page questionnaire. And, post 9/11 and the Patriot Act and all that stuff, there's AML laws that you have to adhere to as well. But I think if somebody outside the United States wants to invest in a hedge fund in the United States, I recommend doing what I did, which is when I had my hedge fund years ago, I had an onshore vehicle and an offshore vehicle. Okay. And by the way, tomorrow morning, there's a video dropping on YouTube where I teach you how to start a hedge fund. But I had an onshore vehicle and an offshore vehicle. And the offshore vehicle I had was in the British Virgin Islands. And this is for my international investors who invest in, so they're not subject to U.S. taxes. You never give tax advice to your customers or your investors, though. Yeah, and BVI is cheaper than Cayman Islands. And the onshore vehicle and offshore vehicle both fed up into my LLC, my management company. That's called a master feeder structure. Again, watch the YouTube video of mine that drops tomorrow at 9 a.m. for much more details on how to start a hedge fund. Yeah. I was never happy doing it, though. I wasn't happy because in the fall of 2008, I massively outperformed everybody. Not everybody, but other funds. I would come into work hoping that companies would declare bankruptcy. In the month of October, I think it was October of 2008, market was down 25 or 30%. I was up 3 or 4%. And it felt wrong. It felt like it was awful. It messed with my head. Plus, I became a longer-term focused investor when I invested in Facebook, in my fund, etc. Yeah. And I want to teach. That's all I love doing. Okay. All right. The cleaning staff is upstairs. Yeah. All right. Okay. As long as they don't use the vacuum, because that'll make the power go out. Yeah. But I've got backup generators in case. All right. Next up here, Manas wrote, I saw the pitch deck for Airbnb and Coinbase as you advised. Yeah. Airbnb I mentioned, yeah. But will Y Combinator or any pre-seed venture fund an idea that is cool, maybe has no rep? Oh, absolutely. Most startups go to Y Combinator. Y Combinator is like pre-VC. It's like an incubation firm where they kind of train you on how to launch your company, your go-to-market strategy, how to market yourself, et cetera. They take a small equity stake. Yeah, most of that is pre-revenue. It's very early stage. Yeah. But when it comes to incubators, like, don't just stick with Y Combinator. Like, it's the hardest one to get into. Sam Altman used to be the president of Y Combinator. He's now the president of OpenAI. He's a great salesperson. Yeah, a little bit too good. But there's others as well. There's Techstars, which is in Colorado, and there's also 500 Startups and Plug and Play Tech Center, which is all over the world. Saeed Hamidi is the founder. He's a friend. He's a good guy. I used to be on his board to help him pick investments years ago. Good guy. All right. And then Manas wrote, what are your thoughts on tokenization of real assets like a building and gold and silver? Will it work there? Okay, yeah. So you need regulation first. And I wouldn't invest in anything that's tokenization based until the SEC mandates that all of these crypto companies have to create these massive S1 filings. Yeah. Otherwise, you don't know the risks. I still believe that 95% of all cryptos are an absolute scam. Yeah. Okay, give me 1 second here. Okay, next up, and by the way, if you type, there's certain words if you type, I don't see them. But more importantly, if you put an internet link, I don't see that either. YouTube strips it out. Yeah. Okay, so Bhavya wrote, hey, Chris, I'm from India. How are you? With a bachelor's degree in finance. Cool, that's what I did too. I'm currently 24 years old, working in a textile industry, but I like to pivot to finance. How do I start? Yeah. So every time you see a job opening online, you literally have a 1 in 250 chance of getting that job. So who gets the job? It's ultimately somebody that knows someone at the company. So what you have to do is step 1, and I teach this in my MBA degree program in a lot of detail. Step 1, create an incredible LinkedIn profile. Step 2, reach out to people that work at companies that you want to work at and send them an email. And my success rate on getting meetings with people I've never met before, leveraging LinkedIn emails, is 95%. And I don't say that to impress you. Rather, I say it to impress upon you and inspire you the fact that you can do it as well. Again, you could take my MBA degree program, which has a 30-day 100% money back guarantee, and I'll teach you how. Yeah. Your network is your net worth, and relationships are more important than product knowledge. Yeah. And if you set up 30 or 40 informational meetings with people that work at a certain finance firm or whatever company you want to work at, I promise you have an amazing chance of getting that job. Sign up for my MBA degree program, and if you send out those 30 emails and you do those meetings and you don't get a job, I will give you a lifetime money back guarantee. Yeah, it works. And they don't teach you that in school either. In business school, they don't teach you how to network. They don't teach you how to manage your own money. They teach you how to manage other people's money. They don't teach you how to sell. They don't teach you how to write a business plan. Ask anybody who graduated from MBA school, do you know how to start a company? They don't. That's why I do what I do. And then Abhishek, another Abhishek wrote here, Devon AI software engineer, ? Yeah, and you followed up with, have you heard about Devon? I have not, sorry. Yeah. But if anybody has here, please opine and let us all know. Thanks. Mustafa, how are you? Wrote, what a great educational way, Chris. Thank you. God bless you. Quick question. What happens when recession meets inflation? Yeah. Worst case scenario, you have to cancel the currency, right? That's the absolute worst case scenario. It's very rare. But if a country prints too much money, it might not help. So I have a couple of examples for you. Post World War I, the predecessor of the Deutschmark, there was awful inflation in Germany, and they printed so much cash that you had to literally, you can do a search on this online, they had to literally take a wheelbarrow full of cash, to buy a loaf of bread. Yeah, that's how my dad says bread. I love you, Dad, if you're watching. Yeah. Also, another example is with Venezuela, with a Venezuelan fuerte, which ironically means strong. They had like 1,000,000% inflation on a daily basis. Yes. And they had to cancel the fuerte. Same thing in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe had 98% daily inflation in the fall of 2008. And in the early 80s, inflation was a huge problem in America, man. And Paul Volcker, who was the Jerome Powell at that point in time, God bless him, passed away. He was the Federal Reserve Chairman. But what he did was he had to raise interest rates close to 20% to beat inflation. It was scary. And he actually talked to Helmut Kohl, and he got a lot of advice from German economists in the early 80s on how to beat inflation in America, which almost destroyed the U.S. economy. And when interest rates are that high, about 20% in the early 80s, everybody puts their money in the bank, because why would I buy stocks if I can get 20%? And as a result of that, the economy grinds to a halt, because why would anybody buy stocks? Why would anybody invest in startups? Right? And venture capital was a wasteland back in the early 80s. It was awful. We had to wait until 1986 until we had two incredible IPOs in tech, Microsoft and Oracle, that went public within a month of each other. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then Ginny wrote, would you mind pasting the Zoom link again, please? Yeah, I can't do that here, only because it's a private link. But what you can do, and please don't disclose this, but go to my website and log in using the same password you used before on my website, and just go to a calendar, and you'll be able to log in. Yeah, I'll show you. Okay, so if you go here, go to my website here. Okay, and then again, please don't disclose the password, but just go here, and I think you were in this class here, but if you log in here, same password, you'll be able to get access to the yeah. And the next class starts, for those of you interested in joining, it starts on May 6th, the gold and platinum class. You can always click this button that I'm covering up in the corner of the blue one to schedule a call with me to talk about it in more detail. I've got an early bird special that ends soon, and then prices will be going up a lot as well. Yeah. Okay. And then Motivation Station wrote, I see prices increased for the MBA. Yeah. I increased them back in early February, but I told everybody I was going to do it many, many times in January. Yeah. Okay. And they're going to be going up again. But I'll telegraph to everyone when it happens. Okay. Kamal wrote, how do you land a job in a hedge fund? Yeah, it's the same answer I gave before, which is networking. You have to network a lot. But when you go to these meetings with hedge funds, what I want you to do is on the back of your resume, I want you to put a one-page pitch, and I'll show you exactly what to bring. This works. All right. So in my MBA program, I give you a ton of different templates, all the tools you need to be successful. And this is one of them right here. So this here is a 100-step template, okay, that covers all the qualitative issues, quantitative, and financial issues of a company. I ask you 700 questions. It's got dummy data in here. And based on what you enter in, there's three outputs. One is a dashboard, which has, it just visualizes everything you entered in for that company. Again, this is dummy data here. The second one is a detailed 150-page report, which includes your financial model you create here. So I help you value the company. And the third one, or threeth, as my son Andrew used to say, is an executive summary. Again, this is dummy data. And this executive summary covers fundamentals, valuation, and technical analysis based on what you entered in. You print this out, okay, right here on the other side of your resume. And that will help you a lot when you're doing your informational meetings. In fact, after you do an informational meeting with a hedge fund, I recommend creating one write-up per week and sending it to them. Long and short ideas. Don't just do longs, right? Because portfolio managers are always hungry for short ideas. Yeah. And what I also recommend doing, every battle is won before it's been fought, is when you go to these interviews at hedge funds, you bring 10 or 20 write-ups and you put it in your bag. And depending on who you're talking to, you can pull out that write-up if you want to. Pro tip. Hedge funds that have over $100 million in assets, they have to, by law, publicly disclose what their holdings are every 3 months. So maybe some of those write-ups should be about stocks that they own as well. And in my MBA degree program, I provide you with 12 additional non-finance related templates you can bring to your interviews So he'll help you ace interview, whether it's a sales job, HR job, operations job, etc. Yeah. Okay, and Phil wrote, concerning investing, you say focus on the long term. What's considered long term? Yeah, 5 to 10 years. So Warren Buffett, when he invests in a stock, he always assumes the market's going to be closed for 10 years. Obviously, he knows it won't be closed for 10 years, but that's how long-term focused he is. And what I want you to do is use the template, and I think you graduated from my MBA program a while ago, but you can use that template I just showed you. And if you want to be able to access that, go to class EMS 4-2. That's Economics Management and Strategy Semester 4, Class 2. And I want you to create a financial model and value the company using the valuation methodologies I teach you about. And I want you to create a target price in 5 or 10 years, based on your earnings estimates in 5 or 10 years. And that way, you'll be able to sleep at night. You won't worry about the volatility in the markets. In fact, you'll tell yourself, I don't know the path, but I know the destination. Even Warren Buffett said that with Coca-Cola. If you invested the day that Coca-Cola went public, you were down 50% 1 year later. But you got to be long-term focused. Always, always, always be long-term focused. Yeah. And even the best hedge funds, like a lot of people think that hedge funds trade, the successful ones. They don't. They're long-term focused. And one of the early pioneers of the hedge fund industry, a guy named Julian Robertson, he created Tiger Asset Management. And he trained all of his portfolio managers and analysts to have 3 to 5 year positions. Right? You got to think long-term. And he was so successful that the most successful hedge funds today, many of them at least, are Tiger Cubs, meaning people that worked at Tiger, including Lone Pine, Maverick, Tiger Global, Chase Coleman's fund. There's so many more. Okay. All right. Next up, Rahul wrote, "What are your suggestions on index option trading?" Yeah, I'm against trading. I am. The only reason I think you should use options, okay, and if you're going to buy options, meaning puts or calls, don't underwrite them, meaning don't sell them, because you can lose multiple times more than what you invested if you get randomly assigned by the CBOE. Yeah, just be careful, or other government certified agencies that oversee the options markets. If you're going to invest in options, just buy puts or calls. Yeah, and I teach this in my MBA program. For those of you in my MBA program, go to FA 4-4. That's Finance and Accounting Semester 4, Class 4. I have a 30-hour lecture on options, and I provide you with all the templates you need to be able to invest in different option strategies. Yeah. Okay. All right. Dane wrote, looking good. Thank you. Feeling good. You wrote, my grandson is in his second year at Berkeley along with your son. Oh, very cool. Small world, man. Yeah. That is awesome. Yeah. My son, Andrew, he's older now. So he's just finishing his second year and he loves it. It's fun. He started out doing engineering. He got into engineering. He didn't like it as much. He's more of a business person. I don't know where he gets that from. So he's switching out to business. Yeah, but he's loving it. I think he's like straight A's. Takes after his mother. Yeah. And this guy here is going to university next year if he wants. I'm not pressuring my kids. And this guy here, I've got 3 teenage boys. This guy here is 14 going on 40. You know how it is with the youngest one. Yeah. Oops. And then you wrote, he accepted a summer internship at Sandia Labs in Livermore. Oh, very cool. Nicely done. Any suggestions on helping him find a summer rental in Livermore? I don't know. I'm so sorry. Yeah. You can go to maybe Craigslist. I have no idea. Yeah. It's expensive though, I know. It's nice and warm there though. And then you wrote Airbnb only has a few listings there that don't fit his needs. Yeah, Airbnb is too pricey. Yeah. Okay. Forte wrote, Musk resigned from OpenAI because he said it was unprofitable. No, he did it for other reasons. Yeah. And I think his heart is in the right place. And I think he wants to get in front of AI and create his own AI products so it's done ethically the right way. I think his heart is in the right place. Yeah. As much as people criticize him. Yeah. Okay. Richard wrote, I love Chris. Thank you. And I think you're always 99.99% right, but Elon's heart on AI is not in the right place. Okay, I respect your opinion. Yeah. I feel like he is mad because he feels outdueled in the money race. He's certainly competitive. Yeah. Okay. Vego wrote, Chris, what do you think about moomoo for ETFs? Yeah, I don't know what moomoo is, but if you want to do due diligence on ETF companies, my go-to resource is for my students is always ETFDB. That's etfdatabase.com. And you can screen ETFs by sector, by geography, etc. When you do this, make sure 3 things occur. Number 1, you only invest in 4 things I can tell you. Only invest in ETFs issued by reputable companies, okay, like Vanguard, for example. Number 2, make sure the fee structure is low, like 50 basis points or less. Number 3, make sure it's liquid to the extent that whatever you invest is less than 10% of the average daily trading volume, as I explained earlier today. And then number 4, most importantly, be mindful, please, of risk management. Don't make any one position in your portfolio more than 5% of your liquid portfolio, unless it's like an ETF like the VU, the S&P 500 ETF, then that can be like 20%. Yeah. Make sure you put it, and don't do your own. Like, please don't anybody, I'm begging all of you, don't do your own accounting. I want you to get an accountant to file your taxes. Don't file your own tax, I should say. And the reason I say that is because there's a reason the accounting profession exists. Doing your own taxes is like doing surgery on yourself. The tax code changes all the time. And a good accountant, can get you out of trouble, keep you out of trouble, and also get you enough tax breaks. And I mention that also because before you invest in something, I want you to call your accountant and say, hey, can I put this in my retirement savings account tax-free before you invest? Because if you buy something, then quite often after you buy it, you cannot move it in your retirement savings account. Yeah. Always get somebody else to manage your taxes. And the ultra wealthy in the United States and globally, they're wealthy. A lot of it is because they pay less in tax. It's not fair, but it is what it is. So the wealthiest 400 families in the United States, they pay just over 20% tax. It's not fair, but it is what it is because they all have tax attorneys and accountants, etc. Even Warren Buffett has publicly disclosed he pays less in taxes percent-wise than his assistant does. It's not fair, but it is what it is. Jeff Bezos in 2007, when he was already a billionaire many times over, not only did he not pay taxes in 2007, but he actually got $16,000 back in his taxes when he filed them. That's $4,000 for each of his 4 kids. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but hire an accountant, please. Especially if you have your own company. And if you have your own company, or even if you do consulting work, what I want you to do is get your accountant to do your personal and professional taxes. It's got to be the same accountant. Yeah. And get 2 credit cards, one for business, one for personal. If you're 100% sure it's a business expense, put it on your business credit card. You don't have to keep receipts. At least I don't. What I do is I have my accountant just, go to my Amex account online and download all my personal and business statement stuff and file taxes. Yeah. Okay. And Ali wrote, thanks for your advice. I'm going to go buy your course now. Thank you. God bless you. Thanks. Okay. All right. Give me 1 second, guys. All right. Dennis wrote, hey, Chris, what do you think is going to happen to TikTok? Yeah. I think ultimately an American company will buy it if they're allowed to, and it will survive. Yeah. And as I mentioned earlier, Steve Mnuchin, I think he was the head of the Treasury under the Trump administration. He's working on getting together a syndicate of investors to buy it. Yeah. But it does worry me, some of the stuff I see on it. Yeah. It's really suggestive too. Like there has to be a rating system. Yeah. Okay. Kind of like with video games. I mean, there's, M for mature, T for teen, et cetera, E for everyone. Yeah. Or movies. Yeah. It's kind of strange that there's no regulation. Yeah. Okay, and then Forte wrote, TikTok will just go to court, to be honest. Yeah. It was embarrassing seeing one of our senators ask ridiculous questions to the CEO of TikTok, who's from Singapore, who handled himself very well. I'm sure you guys all saw that on TikTok, yeah. But I do believe in freedom of speech, but not hate speech. Okay. And then Faggy wrote, hey, Chris, I'm new to the channel. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. I've seen a few of your Billions reviews, but just curious what you tend to do during these office hours. Just open questions regarding finance questions. Yeah, I answer anything. Yeah. Yeah. So my goal is to help you take your career to the next level. I answer any business questions. Yeah. Welcome. I hope you join us again. Okay. Next up, Jahanzeb wrote, which areas of financial modeling should we consider while providing services to our clients? Yeah. It all depends on the sector, right? If it's private equity, you're going to spend much more time focused on the balance sheet, like for debt issues, et cetera, and cash flow. If your clients are, I don't know, hedge funds or institutional investors, more so on the income statement. Yeah, it all depends. Yeah. But if you're not sure, what you can do is you can be very thorough and cover all aspects of the company. I'm so sorry for making people dizzy. Oh my God. Here it is here. I'm so sorry. Sorry about that, guys. So what I do, and this is one of my many templates in my MBA degree program, I cover all aspects of financial modeling, right? Including auditor red flags, sensitivity analysis, target prices, DCF, price to revenue for companies that aren't profitable, price to earnings, cash flow, deferred revenue. Yeah. Okay. Let me go back to Wirecast. Okay. Okay. Manos wrote, America prints more money than any country in history of 5,000 years, but is still a superpower. Is it because it is a reserve currency? And I think it's fair because America is a great ZON, zone, yeah. So everything in life is relative when it comes to investing in business. So the American government is the last company on the planet that would ever go bankrupt. And so it's all relative. And America is seen as a flight to quality. It is what it is. In fact, in 2008, it was the United States that had all these credit default issues that forced the world into a recession when we were within 24 hours, bank machines not working. It was an American problem. However, the American dollar went up. Why? Because investors saw America as kind of a flight to quality. It's kind of like how gold goes up when people are freaking out. Yeah. And GLD was my biggest long position in 2008. Yeah. But yeah, America has 40% more currency out there than, pre-pandemic levels. Cash is trash. Yeah. And, a lot of people for my whole life, everybody's been saying, oh my God, America has too much debt. America has too much debt. It's over. It's over. It's over. Well, it's only over when people find another instrument to invest in that's lower risk. It is what it is. And the American economy was set up from day one. And you look at Andrew Jackson, the dude on the $20 bill who looks like Keith Richards, who's coming off soon. American economy was set up so they can get access to credit. Yeah. And my hope is that globalization continues so that we are all attached at the hip, all countries, to the extent that we can't let any country fail. I think that if China stopped buying U.S. debt, it would hurt China more than the U.S. I do. Because China really focuses on the U.S. as a massive export market. Now, longer term, the Chinese government, is really focused on building up their domestic economy to be self-sufficient. But as of now, they're definitely reliant on the U.S. economy for exports. And, U.S. economy is the biggest economy in the world. There's a lot of great innovation here. There's a lot of issues here, too. I get it. But the whole world watches the American consumer closely because people don't realize that 2/3 of the U.S. economy is consumer spending. Yeah. Yeah. Manos wrote, any chances of crypto hedge fund in America, but maybe only there is Wyatt, or why is that? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know much about it, but I do know a lot of large hedge funds that are multi-asset focused, have invested in cryptos for years. Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't invest in one unless it's regulated unless cryptos are regulated by the U.S. government. Okay, and then you wrote, I have a little following on LinkedIn, but I fail to entertain them because somehow videos don't work on LinkedIn. What would be your advice, like 12 5-year long perspective? Yeah, just be in it for the long run. I know that initially it feels like we are screaming into the wind when we publish social media content. And most people give up after, a month or 2 or 3 or 4 because they're like, oh God, it's embarrassing. I'm not getting views, whatever. But who cares, man? You got to tell yourself, I don't care what other people think. And I've showed you guys this chart before. When you're younger, you're down here. You don't really care what people think. When you're older, you don't care. You don't have confidence. You don't care. The problem is when you're right here. In your teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever, and you care what people think. This is the triangle of despair. You need to get rid of that from your life and live at this level, like all the best entrepreneurs do. People like Oprah, Elon Musk, etc. They live at this level. They don't care what people think. And you got to be the same way as well with social media. Just be long-term focused. Yeah, it will work. If you build it, they will come, and your competition will give up. Yeah, but when it comes to LinkedIn videos, you got to upload them. All social media platforms, by the way, you have to upload natively. You can't just share a YouTube link because you get penalized. Why? Because social media networks don't want to have some other social media network, take share from them. Yeah, always upload natively. Yeah, that's why Hootsuite doesn't work anymore. Yeah, for videos. Okay. And then Manos wrote, have you tried crypto options on Binance? They look like a good incentive, but I'm not allowed because India banned Binance with all foreign crypto exchanges. Tough rules. You might try. Yeah, I've not tried that. Yeah. But the same rules apply to, and I teach this in FA 4.4, Finance and Accounting Semester 4, Class 4. Options are options. It doesn't matter, what asset class you're investing in. Yeah. I mean, you price them all the same way. There's different valuation methodologies I teach. There's Monte Carlo simulation. There's Black-Scholes, and then there's the binary options valuation model, which is my favorite one. Yeah. Okay. And then Manos wrote, I like Musk on some grounds, maybe AI and free speech, but even he only kept Grok AI for X, only for premium users. So how is it fair? I like him, but in some places, not everywhere. Yeah. I've looked at Grok. It's more for enterprises. I'm not an expert in that area. If you want to know what AI products are going to be great investments longer term and which ones to try to help take your company to the next level, my dad taught me growing up, only take advice from successful people. You can go to Sequoia's website, okay? And Sequoia is the best venture capital firm in history. Now, the top 10 venture capital firms in the world have 1% of their investments as unicorns, meaning companies with a valuation they invest in over $1 billion. Sequoia has 5%. It's ridiculous. It's amazing, unbelievable. But the reason I bring it here is Sequoia has got, let's see if I can find it. Here it is here. The generative AI map, right? And they keep updating this as well. So you can go to Sequoia's website, and if you scroll down here, just do a search on generative AI at Sequoia. You see here all of the companies that they think are market leaders in different sectors when it comes to AI. Now, not all of these are pure plays. TikTok's obviously not a pure play, but there are other great ones here, like Glean, for example, which is a cool AI product you can download to run in your enterprise that will allow you to use AI and search on all of your data sources, whether it's Slack, Discord, Dropbox, etc. But check this out. Yeah, for every single sector. And if you're a techie, if you scroll down even more, you can take a look at tech products to use that are AI based. And again, they change this all the time. Let Sequoia do the research for you, though. There's nobody better than them. What an adorable logo that is. Okay. David wrote, can you repeat the max fee threshold for ETFs? Yeah, it's subjective. But for me, I don't like investing in ETFs where the fees are a lot higher than 50 basis points. Let me show you an example. Okay. So the ETF that I invest in when I'm not sure where to put my capital, and please do your research first, is VU, right? And here's Steve Mnuchin, who's putting together a syndicate to buy TikTok. Yeah. So if we type here, VU, I'll show you. So the fees here are 0.03%, right? And what that means is, and this represents the S&P 500, Vanguard is a high quality, the best ETF company. I feel comfortable personally investing in them. Do your own research. But here for ticker VU, for every $100 you put in, you're only to pay 3 pennies per year in fees. I like this to be well under 50 basis points, being 0.5%. Yeah. And usually the less liquid an investment is, the higher the fees. Usually. Yeah. All right. Okay, and Forte wrote, what I meant by unprofitable was that it would require tons of money that OpenAI wouldn't be able to offset, and Musk didn't feel like he'd be able to provide that liquidity. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, so your perspective is that when Musk invested $1 billion in OpenAI, he was worried he was going to get like a capital call if they were cash flow negative to be able to fund more money. I got you. Yeah. Instead, Microsoft stepped in to provide liquidity. Yeah. Cool. All right. Hey, David, how are you? David recently joined my Silver MBA degree program and gave me a lot of great advice on a Zoom call the other day on pricing as well. Thank you, and God bless you for that. So David wrote, hey, Chris, I might not be able to make the silver hours. Just wanted to say, I was wondering what long-term greedy meant. Thank you for that. I'll try to make the next second half. Have a great meeting. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. And for those of you in my Silver MBA program, every week after this call ends at 10 a.m. Pacific time, there's a 1-hour Zoom call. And you can always go to the first lecture of the curriculum to access that link. And I have to update the link. I think I made a typo with it. Yeah. Okay. So long-term greed. Yeah. So it's something I learned when I worked at Goldman Sachs 8 million years ago. I spent 5 years at Goldman. And they always told me to be very long-term focused. Be long-term greedy. That's what they mean by that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then Manas asked a question about Ripple. There's too much negativity on it. I hold it, so do you. I'm never selling no matter what happens. But why is it stable when the markets are crazy like anything? Yeah. So I think they won a lawsuit in the Southern District of New York State. It was like a year ago. Yeah. So the government was coming after them saying, hey, you raised $1 billion. Therefore, since you raised money, you need to file with the SEC. They said no. There was a lawsuit and they won, which is a surprise, which set a good precedent. Yeah. Okay. Bhavya. Hey, Bhavya. Great to see you. First time to see you on the call. I hope you join us again. Bhavya wrote, for a new hedge fund manager, does raising funds require certain pedigrees in terms of what university he or she has graduated from? Now, the most important thing, a couple of things will help you raise capital. And if you want, what you can do is you can watch my Billions vlog tomorrow. It drops at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And the title of that vlog is How to Start a Hedge Fund. But what's most important is that you have a track record and that you also, and university doesn't matter. Like the farther you get away from graduate university, the less it matters. Right? Like I meet friends of mine from Harvard and sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm going to count how many seconds it takes until they remind people they went to Harvard. It drives me crazy. Yeah, sorry. But I would say a track record is important. Also, you want to have good infrastructure, meaning good service providers, like a prime broker, auditor, your fund administrator, legal custodian service, etc. Yeah. And you got to have a process as well, like that financial model example I gave you with that template that I showed you in Excel earlier. But watch tomorrow's video. It drops at 9 a.m. for more details on that. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. And then Gabrielle wrote, hey, Chris, first time on the channel. Great to have you. Hope you join us again. Gabrielle wrote, your MBA Udemy course is awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And I did that back in, was it January of 2016, 7.5-hour course. Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Okay. Time goes by, man. The older I get, the better I was. You wrote, what funding options do I have as someone who is looking to acquire an established business outside of SBA, of course? Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, I am so anti getting bank loans. And the reason is because banks are chicken. And if you miss one payment, they can take everything. You know, I'm more in favor of getting high net worth investors to invest. And I've humbly raised and managed over $1 billion in my career. And I'm going to show you the best resource, which is free, in my humble opinion. Okay, so if you go to HarounMBA.com and you scroll down to the bottom here, you'll see a book. It's called Networking to Get Customers a Job or Anything You Want. Check this out here. That will help a lot. Yeah. And the reason why I like getting raising capital initially from high net worth investors is because the sales cycle is quite short. Right? When you talk to big institutional investors, like pension funds or, I don't know, fund-to-fund groups or whatever, it can be 20, 30 meetings and 30 or 40 people are deciding an investment committee whether or not to invest. And the problem with approaching big pension funds or big institutional investors initially is you'll feel great because you got a meeting with them, but you realize that they're wasting your time, and here's why. At these big funds, basically what happens is you have analysts, and their job is to work 250 days a year and take 3 meetings per day. So you're a checkbox of 1 out of 750. Always go right to the decision maker in all business instances. And the fewer decision makers are, the better. And that's why raising money from high net worth investors is great. It might take a couple of meetings. The sales cycle is short. Yeah. You got nothing to lose too. Okay. All right. And then McFlash, who's got a picture of Bill Gates being arrested. Oh, I love that. That's right. He got pulled over for, I think he bought a sports car after venture capitalists invested in Microsoft. And then he was going really fast in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and he got arrested. I see the picture there. It's so funny. So McLovin wrote, tips for somebody wanting to create their own hedge fund. Yeah, check out the video tomorrow. You'll see it's nicely structured. I actually provide exactly 10 tips on how to start a hedge fund in a lot of detail. Yeah. And that vlog tomorrow is 25 minutes long. Yeah. I had so much fun recording it and editing it. I did all the editing myself on my non-production computer using Final Cut. I love what I do. I don't have a job. I have a passion. Okay. All right. Vismay wrote, hey, Chris, how do I clarify my short-term work experience in my interview? A couple things. Yeah. All right. So couple ways to approach this. Number one, on your LinkedIn profile and your resume, don't list months. Okay. If you started working at a company I'm going to make this up, in September of 2020, and you quit in January of 2021, don't put months. Just put 2020, 2021. Right? I'm not saying lie, right? But it just optics matter. Also, what you can do is this. If you've worked many years and worked at many companies, you can consolidate that into one company on your resume ethically. And I'll tell you how, or LinkedIn profile. Let's say you worked at, I don't know, Ford, GM, Tesla, Ferrari, whatever, over 3 years, 4 companies. Well, you could write on your LinkedIn profile, automotive sector. And then in the bullet points, you can mention those companies. Yeah, you can disclose it. But optics matter. It's a better way to sell yourself. If you found that you've jumped around from company to company and you're worried that somebody that might hire you might think you're a flight risk, then what you can say, if true, is these were companies where I enjoyed working, but it wasn't my passion. I found that my true passion is X, and hopefully Solver X is the company you're interviewing with now. And bring plenty of examples of your work as well. Yeah, write-ups, etc., which I teach in my MBA program. Okay. All right. David wrote, thanks, Chris. You're most welcome. I have the Vanguard S&P 500 index, ticker VOO. Awesome. Nice. And then the VT SAX, yeah, total stock market index. Awesome. I love it. I love it. Yeah. Whenever I'm confused in terms of what to buy and I have excess capital, I just throw it in the VOO. Yeah. And the S&P 500, it's not going to be up every year, but historically it's up close to 15%, right? So, and it's so ridiculous how we try to be day traders. We've all been through it, right? It doesn't help. Like if I tell you, if you look at a chart of the S&P 500, it looks like this over the past a couple decades. The madness of trying to trade those, like who cares? Like just buy and hold. Don't worry about the path. Worry about the destination. And if all you do is you invest in the S&P 500, like I mentioned before, it's up about 15% on average. So if you have a retirement savings program, whatever country people are in, and you can put, I don't know, $20,000 or $22,000 into your retirement savings program. I know times are tough. You can't do it every year. I get it. But if all you did was you put, around $20K per year in the S&P 500, ticker VOO, then in 20 years, you'll have $1 million. Run the math. It works. If your spouse, tax-free until you take it out. If your spouse does it as well, you have $2 million. If you max out your kid's educational savings account every year, which is like $15,000, I know it's hard to do every year. I get it. Then in 18 years for each kid, you'll have 700 grand. So 700 grand times 3 is 2.1 million, plus $1 million from me, $1 million from my spouse. That's a lot. And it's and I get it. You can't do it every year. And I couldn't do it every year earlier on in my career either. But your long-term focus this way, it just works. Yeah. And out of sight is out of mind. Like the best way to invest, I think, is to, if you can do it, have money automatically taken out of your paycheck every 2 weeks and put into your retirement savings based on whatever stocks you want to invest in or ETFs, etc. Again, for me, and do your own research, I throw it in the VOO and I don't know where to put my money. But have it taken out automatically. Yeah. Because it's tax-free. And by the way, you can do it with your kids as well. So I maxed out my kids humbly. I'm too transparent. Educational savings programs to the extent that, my son's in school now and he can take that money out tax-free to pay for tuition. And he can take that money out one day to buy a house if he wants to. Of course, he pays taxes on that. Yeah. Yeah. Like the second that you find out you're having a kid, start saving, whatever, ask if people want to buy, I don't know, a present for a shower or something. Instead, just, it's kind of uncomfortable to say it, but just have them, I don't know, send cash. You can put it in the child's tax-free investment program. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. And Manos wrote, thank you for everything, my mentor. God bless you all forever and ever. See you next week forever. Thank you. God bless you, brother. Arcana wrote, hi, Chris. Hey, do you think risk management strategies derived using AI is a good idea? Is that feasible? AI products are quite often confidently wrong. I'd always double check the data. In fact, when you use ChatGPT, you can always go to advanced settings and add a line saying for all your prompts, always show me a link to the source, where they got the source data from. Yeah. I don't think it's ready yet, AI for that. Yeah, not yet. Yeah. In fact, I interviewed, I think it was the top software and internet analyst on the planet, Brent Thill. I think it was in September of last year. And one of my students asked Brent a question, which is, like, do you guys use AI? And at his investment bank, and he said no. And we asked why, and he said, well, what if a junior employee uses AI and gets the wrong answer for clients? Yeah. So you got to keep these things in check. They're getting better though, a lot better. Yeah. And I think Google is going to be a force to be reckoned with, right? That Bard was such a disaster for them from a PR perspective. They rebranded it as Gemini. I think it's going to get a lot better. Don't count Google out. Yeah. Okay, and then McFlash. Have you guys seen Superbad? It's the best movie ever. I actually bought the fake ID. Oh my God, I'm going to get canceled now. The fake ID, the McLovin fake ID. Yeah. And I used to take, I remember I took it, somebody very close to me had to go to the hospital. And so I took them, and every time we check in, I would give my McLovin ID just to make the person laugh. Yeah. And two things happened. This is crazy. The person, it's supposed to be HIPAA compliant, it's crazy. The person checking us in would look at it and laugh, and then I'll ask my real ID, or they look at it and they say, okay. Yeah. All right. So McLovin, I hope you don't mind I call you McLovin. McLovin said, I'm still a student, and I want to create a hedge fund. I think it's one of the most effective business to easily make capital. Yeah. Yeah. So check out my, what I recommend doing is do an internship at a hedge fund if you want. And you can sign up for my MBA degree program. I teach you how to network on steroids to get the job of your dreams. Especially when you're a student, you have to set up tons of informational meetings because people they want to help you. Yeah. And then tomorrow, watch my vlog that drops at 9 a.m. Pacific time, because it's 25 minutes. It teaches you how to start a hedge fund. Yeah. And then Manas wrote, Manas, I love those emojis. Namaste, God bless you. You wrote, eat dosa in my name. The bill is on me. I'll pay you back when I land in the U.S. soon. Bye. Thank you. I love you. Dosa is my favorite food. For those of you new on the call, the most important thing you can learn today is this. When you go to an Indian restaurant, there's great food. You get chicken tandoori, so much good stuff. I want you to ask for a dosa. You'll thank me later. Yeah, it's the best food you'll ever eat. And Manas, yeah, I'd love to have dinner with you. But when the check comes, I'm going to do exactly this. Oh, look at me. I have alligator hands. I can't find my wallet. T-Rex can't do push-ups. Yeah. No, I'll buy you dinner, of course, because I can write it off. I'm just kidding. All right. And Rahul, thank you for that emoji and for subscribing as well. Appreciate that. It's cool. All right. 2 more questions, and then I think we'll wrap it up. Oh, a couple more came. Sanjay wrote, hey, Chris, you said how AI might replace actors. Similarly, do you see AI doing similar roles in combat industry? It's kind of happening with drones right now. In terms of police officers being robots, I've started to see it actually in some parking lots in Palo Alto, where you park underground at hotels. There are these robots. They kind of look like R2-D2, but more egghead shaped. Cone heads, like Dan Aykroyd. And nobody will get that. I'm so old. And these little R2-D2 police bots will kind of go around and check to see if people are trying to vandalize cars. Yeah. I really hope it's kept in check, though. Yeah. Yeah. Gabriel wrote, it's you, McMuffin. Yeah, McLovin. I got to show you guys. Okay, for those of you who haven't seen Superbad, turn me off right now, man, please. And just watch. Okay, McLovin. Here it is here. Yeah. And this guy that was his first role in a movie. And he hasn't really gotten any roles since, because everybody, when they see McLovin, they always say it. So, first of all, if you're going to get a fake ID, you don't just call yourself one name, McLovin, right? It's so funny. And look, here's the real one. It's off-centered as well. Yeah. Oh my God, what a great movie. So funny. Okay. So Tones, Mark, how are you? Mark always types in caps. Please always do this because you remind me of my grandfather. Grandpa, I miss you. My grandpa used to always say, Chrissy, buy land. They're not making it anymore. So Mark graduated from my MBA program a couple of years ago. He's based in Michigan. Great guy. He wrote, what's up, Global MBA gang? Shout out to Professor Chris. Thank you. Shout out to you, buddy. I watched Pablo Escobar on Netflix. How in the world did he amass more than General Motors? I know cocoa was legal in the United States in 1909. Yeah, in fact, Coca-Cola. I went to a tour of the Coca-Cola factory when I was in Atlanta a couple of years ago. And initially there was cocaine in Coca-Cola. A lot of people don't realize that. Yeah, when cocaine was legal. And I'll show you the logo, Coca-Cola logo. I don't take any sponsors to my channel, so I can say whatever I want about any brand until I get sued. But Coca-Cola, actually, this year, let's see if I can show you. People used to joke that this was a line of Coke down here. I think they changed the logo a bit. Yeah. I can go there and show it to you. Give me 1 second. Yeah, if you turn the logo sideways, it looks like somebody doing a line of Coke. Okay, I'm going to shut up now. Yeah. But Pablo Escobar, Narcos is probably my best show when it comes to Pablo Escobar. And that dude that played Pablo, I think he's Brazilian, not Colombian. But I was watching a documentary last night on TikTok on how Pablo Escobar he destroyed the environment in certain parts of Colombia because he imported 4 hippos. And those hippos now, there's hundreds of them, and it could become thousands. Yeah. Yeah. All right. And then Sanjay wrote, WWE is going to be streamed in Netflix. Yeah. Yeah. I never watched that stuff. Yeah. Although I collected WWE cards when I was a kid. Hulk Hogan, I had his card. I remember that. Andre the Giant as well. Yeah. Okay. What happens to cable channels in the future? Yeah. Well, cable knows they're done. Yeah, which is why, Comcast has invested a lot of money in buying content and streaming. Yeah. Yeah. And then Rahul wrote, I'm going to watch Too Big to Fail movie this weekend. What are the key points I can learn from it? Yeah. Risk management. I'll make a video on that too. Yeah. Yeah. It's probably the best movie about finance ever made. The acting is brilliant. And Paul Giamatti, who should have won Best Actor in my humble opinion, he plays Ben Bernanke brilliantly. I think William Hurt played Hank Paulson. Probably the biggest takeaway is that there's a moral hazard in place to the extent that banks are the grease or the engine of growth for an economy, and they can't fail. It's not fair, but it is what it is. And so they will always be rescued by the government. It's really unfair. And that's exactly what happened. So in the fall of 2008, what happened was, a lot of banks were about to go belly up. Almost every single one of them would have gone belly up because of credit default swaps. I can go into more detail on that if you want me to as well. So what happened was the Department of Treasury, Hank Paulson, who used to be the CEO of Goldman when I worked there, Hank Paulson, who's the head of the Treasury, what he did was he created something called TARP, which stands for Treasury Asset Repurchase Program, which meant that the U.S. government bought $1 gazillion worth of crappy assets from banks in order to recapitalize the banks. And that saved the economy. And a lot of people don't realize that, and this is controversial, I'm about to say, but Ben Bernanke, he did his PhD at Princeton University in depressionary economics. And had he not done his PhD at Princeton in depression economics, we would have fallen into another depression. Right? So I think he did a lot of great things. But what pisses me off, and this is why the Occupy Wall Street movement started, what bothers me, I should say, is the government rescued all these banks. And of course, you need banks so the economy doesn't work. And then 2 years later, these bankers that got bailed out by the government, they paid themselves and all their employees record bonuses. Meanwhile, the average person in middle America, middle class, lost their house. It's not fair. Now, I believe in low taxes, I do. But I think there should be a one-time special tax in the trillions of dollars to be paid over many years by the largest U.S. banks. And that should go into a fund and then go directly to people that lost their houses. Yeah. Yeah. But I think you'll enjoy that movie. It's incredibly well done. Yeah. And Cynthia Nixon's in it too. She was in that show, Sex and the City. Yeah. Yeah. She's now in the Gilded Age, which is a pretty good show on I think it's on Showtime, I think. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. It's like Downtown Abbey, but for America. America. Okay. And then what you wrote, hey, Chris, greetings from Berlin. How are you? Great to see you. Guten Morgen. And that's where I met Vital from Rwanda. Yeah. Sanjay wrote, what are the finance movies like Other People's Money, which I haven't heard of? Yeah. I mean, you can always go to my, I have to wrap this call, but I mean, I apologize. But if you go to my YouTube channel, you know, I've done a ton of these things now. I did one on the movie Wall Street. Wall Street Pro reacts to the movie Wall Street. I did The Wolf of Wall Street, which is entertaining. You should definitely check that one out. I can't really think of that many. Maybe Margin Call. Yeah. 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 And if there's other ones, I'll make videos on them as well. It's fun for me to teach based on that stuff. Okay. Yeah. Boiler Room. Yeah, Boiler Room is good. It's about JT Marlin. Yeah. Boiler Room is good. It's kind of like Wolf of Wall Street, not as entertaining, but it's good. Yeah. Limitless. I think that's more about this dude, Bradley Cooper, who takes this drug, I think, to become, I don't know, smarter and stuff. And so he's like me, and I'm very well read. Yeah. Wall Street 1, Wall Street 2. Wall Street 2 wasn't as good. Wall Street 1 was definitely better. RS wrote here, and I'm so sorry, there's a bunch of questions coming at the end here. I won't be able to get to them. If you're in my Silver MBA program, I'll see you in a couple of minutes at 10 a.m. Give me a minute, though, to update the link in the first lecture of the Silver MBA curriculum, because I put the wrong link in. But I'll see you at 10 a.m., and I'll answer questions there over Zoom. If you're in my Gold or Platinum MBA, I'll see you at 11:20 today. That's every Thursday for 2 hours Zoom. If you're interested in the early bird special pricing for my next 9th annual Gold and Platinum MBA program, you can go to this website right here to learn more as well. So I'm going to wrap it up right now. Please make sure to copy your questions, ask me later if you're not a current student. I'll see you next Thursday and every Thursday forever. God bless you all. I love you all. When one teaches, two learn. Thanks for all your great questions. I'm going to end this webcast with a life-changing, very short video with Steve Jobs that I licensed from the Silicon Valley Historical Association. Thank you. God bless you. I'll see you next week.
When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it, that's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just going to live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it. I think that's very important. And however you learn that, once you learn it, you'll want to change life and make it better, because it's kind of messed up in a lot of ways. Once you learn that, you'll never be the same again.